From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
One farmer is making a name for himself.
But takes quite a bit of determination and patience, lots of patience.
How he's already making waves at the age of 17. Time is ticking to get a new farm bill written, but what if it doesn't happen in time?
And then the people are going to be losing their minds.
One ag economist's warning, plus renewable fuels face a new challenge from big oil.
The agency has a pretty good track record of defending its decisions on the renewable fuel standard.
As oil prices soar, back up the impact right now on AgDay.
AgDay, presented by Pioneer. What's next happens when blood, sweat, and tears meet rain, wind, and sun. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Oil prices are now at their highest level in 10 months. Last week they surged past the $90 a barrel mark, further threatening to increase prices at the pump. After remaining below $80 a barrel for most of the year, oil has soared over 17% in the past 3 weeks, and that's once again raising the cost on everything from transportation to manufacturing. Right now, AAA says the cost of a regular gallon of gas sits at $3.86. That's up 17 cents from this time last year. And take a look at diesel prices, now averaging $4.54 a gallon, up 22 cents from a month ago. Bloomberg reports the trucking industry appears to be heading for a rebound, however, which could increase challenges at a time when domestic fuel stockpiles are at their second lowest seasonal levels since 2000. Diesel futures are already trading near their highest level since January in New York. The increase in energy costs couldn't come at a worse time for farmers as harvest ramps up. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins me. And Michelle, all of this as the oil industry is once again taking on the renewable fuels industry in court.
The lawsuits challenging the renewable fuel standard come as no surprise to the biofuels industry. In fact, EPA has been sued over these regulations every year since 2013. However, past rulings have not been in the favor of the petroleum industry, and so biofuels groups are hopeful on the outcome. Environmental and fossil fuel organizations have launched a series of lawsuits against the RFS, which established annual volume targets for various renewable fuels for 2023 through 2025. 9 cases have been consolidated in the D.C. Circuit Court. While the reasons for the challenges haven't been outlined, they're likely to mirror past opposition.
You've got oil refiners that have filed suit. This is basically the same lawsuit they've filed every year for the past several years. They're going to argue that the RFS volumes are just not achievable. You've also got the Center for Biological Diversity, National Wildlife Federation. Those groups we know are going to be arguing that EPA did not properly assess the environmental impacts of the renewable fuel standard and the endangered species impacts.
However, Cooper says past court precedent is in their favor.
The agency has a pretty good track record of defending its decisions on the renewable fuel standard. And again, a lot of these same arguments have been made in the past. A lot of them have been rejected by the courts. So there are some precedents here, I think, that we can look at for insight into how this may play out.
He says the irony of the lawsuits is they're coming at the same time the U.S. is facing rising gas and diesel fuel prices.
We don't see any reason why we as a nation and as a collection of various stakeholders shouldn't be coming together to embrace more domestic fuel production and lower carbon renewable fuel production. And that's exactly what the renewable fuel standard does.
Refining companies have also challenged the EPA's denial of small refinery exemptions from the RFS program. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
The time is running out to get a new farm bill written by the end of this month. According to Texas A&M's Joe Outlaw, the biggest hurdle for getting that farm bill passed is increasing the reference price within Title I of the bill. And while the committees are working around the clock trying to get that farm bill written, he just doesn't see it happening before the deadline. Now, he says if a new farm bill isn't written by February, a long-term extension could be put in place.
Within 2 years, the prices are going to be below your cost of production. I've had this conversation with producers all across the country. I don't care if you're Midwest, South, West, I don't care where you're at. Within 2 years, if factory's right, it's below the current cost of production unless something happens on the input side that breaks levels down. And that means we're not going to be making any money. And then the people are going to be losing their minds. And we shouldn't have to wait till that. Problems, but unfortunately, The way things work in Washington these days, we tends to have a crisis.
Outlaw says the price tag to increase the reference price for all ag commodities by 10% is roughly $20 to $25 billion. A rainy weekend along the East Coast. Could areas of the Corn Belt see another shower or two before harvest? We get an update from meteorologist Matt Engelbrecht.
Yeah, now that we're able to put Hurricane Lee behind us and look forward, what we're going to be watching the middle part of the week is for another trough to dig down in and across the United States. You see all the green back up to the Dakotas, but also extending back into Oklahoma, Nebraska, Missouri, as well as into Wisconsin and Minnesota. So this is September 20th through the 24th. There's going to be a weak low pressure system that strengthens and brings a good amount of rainfall in and across the United States. Now, that may have some of you jumping for joy, and just the sunset and this picture may get you up in the air. A beautiful shot here coming in from Nebraska, and it's one of those that you just love to see, even off near the corn there. It looks like maybe a dog that's walking as well. This is a spectacular shot sent in by Emily, capturing her little girl loving those fresh hay bales in Nebraska. To be a kid again. A beautiful and fun memory for sure. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Keeping you updated on the situation at the Panama Canal. Shipping restrictions at the canal are anticipated to continue well into next year due to ongoing drought conditions. Canal authorities announcing their intention to maintain limits on the number of daily ship transits at 32. Now that's down from the usual 36 in an effort to conserve water. The restrictions have resulted in a backlog of 116 vessels waiting to cross as of last week. Now, the canal is the main route for about 60% of total cargo transported by container ships from Asia to the U.S. A new report says Iowa has lost half of its soil's organic carbon over 4 generations of farming. That report from the Des Moines Register, it says Iowa has lost at least half of its original 96 billion tons of soil organic carbon, according to data from a national team led by a retired USDA scientist. Now, the data says that farmers in the state are losing 12 million tons of soil organic carbon annually. This loss is attributed to factors such as wind and water erosion, tillage, and continuous planting of corn and soybeans. Now, naturally, farmers in the state are asking, well, why have corn and soybean yields continue to improve if their soil organic matter is dwindling? The article says the retired scientist is telling farmers yield losses are being offset by improved seed genetics and crop management, along with technology that allows farmers to better plant, fertilize, and grow those crops. Wheat and livestock continue to push higher to end last week. Will corn and soybeans follow suit? We'll dive into that coming up next. And later, there's a new rice grower in Arkansas, and if he looks a little young, well, you're right. But that's not the only reason why he stands out in the country. Corn and soybeans trending down to end last week. Michelle Rook talks with John Heinberg with a look ahead to this week in Markets Now.
Friday's market closes and the grains lower and row crops higher in the wheat. John Heinberg with Total Farm Marketing is joining us. John, let's talk about that soybean market. A setback there. Some talk of China maybe buying Argentina beans hurt the market, or what was going on?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of an export story. We're hearing rumors that China was into the market for Argentina beans as well as Brazilian beans, and kind of putting the U.S. bean prices on the sidelines again. Argentina right now is currently running another soy dollar program, so that just brings a lot of bushels to the marketplace at a cheaper level, even below those levels of Brazil. So it sounds like that China was ready to buy those up. I think that weighed on the market, as well as with the week ending here, just a little bit of profit taking, trying to figure out where we're going in terms of direction as we move forward. Yield harvest pressure coming up maybe now at the same time, but the market's just getting a little bit cautious in here.
Not the best technical close, though. So where do we go from here in the beat?
No, technically, that was a pretty difficult close today, especially after the Thursday's trade trying to bring this market back up. We got to, we'll go look at that 200-day moving average. That's down below the market here. It's about that 1330 area. We got a couple lows. Thursday's low was 1334, 1332 back in August. So a pretty key spot. If we can't hold that area, then we'll probably drop down, at least go back to the 13 handle.
And corn kind of followed soybeans, but also maybe starting to see a little harvest pressure?
Yeah, I think that's starting to ramp up a little bit here. I mean, obviously the USD report this week didn't bring us anything friendly whatsoever in that regard in terms of the extra acres and the bigger carryout projection. So it just feels like the market's very comfortable with the front end supplies here at this time frame. And with harvest starting to kick in here, might be difficult to get this market to rally.
Yeah, are you going to continue in this market to see more harvest pressure in both corn and soybeans as we move forward, or are the harvest lows in?
I think this week we'll see where harvest ramps up to. We do have some little bit of moisture in the forecast, so that could slow things down. But again, with those fresh bushels coming to the pipeline will make it very, very difficult, especially with the projections for the large crop that we do have. Right now, end users seem to be kind of comfortable with where we are on those front-end supplies, and that'll just make things difficult if we can't hold the low from last week, then we got issues there.
Thanks so much, John Heinberg with Total Farm Marketing. We'll have more AgDay coming up.
To discuss marketing strategies, call 800-334-9779.
I have to make note in that picture, if you didn't see it, she didn't have shoes on either. That's the way to go, jumping across those hay barrels in that picture we shared with you. Now I'm going to share with you the jet stream going into the middle part of the week. So we're expecting possibly above average rainfall for the rest of the week into the weekend in and across a good portion of the United States, thanks in part to this jet stream digging down to the south. And you'll see that what we're going to have is a trough digging and then a ridge building. And that ridge is where things are going to stay dry and warm. Not quite hot. I'm not expecting record high temperatures through the Midwest, but how far north this white line goes is an indication of the warmth that is going to be building back into the Midwest and also on the East Coast in response to, you got Hurricane Lee that's moving out. There's the trough that's left over from it. So the trough's going to be moving from the west to the east. That's where our storm system, our storm complex, will start coming out of the higher terrain, the Rockies, and then work towards the east. But notice how it kind of settles in. This trough turns and settles in more to the northwest, meaning there's not going to be a fast moving storm system from the west to the east. This is going to take a few days to work out. So what this looks like, if we take a look at the satellite and the radar, not much underneath that ridge going into our Tuesday and Wednesday. We are tracking a cold front that's going to be off in the Atlantic by Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon. We go deeper in the week and you'll start to see that cloud cover flare up and the rain chances by Wednesday and Thursday. Again, we're not expecting that trough to dig down until Wednesday night into Thursday. That's when the rain starts to fill in and across portions of the United States. Again, there's Wednesday at 11 p.m. And then as we go into your Thursday and Friday, all that green kind of kicking up. Severe weather threat remains low, but there's going to be a cold front attached to that trough, bringing in some cooler temperatures. And just kind of reiterate, September 20th through the 24th, there's that pocket of some wetter than normal conditions across the Dakotas, but also a good portion of the United States. Start off with Kentucky, partly cloudy Kentucky on top of that Y there, high around 74 degrees for Monday. We're also seeing sunny skies, high around 78, low of 58, and Buffalo, cloudy, high around 89 degrees.
Ready for harvest? Machinery Pete helps you make sure. Coming up next. And later, a teen with some big farming dreams in the country.
Ag Day is brought to you by Firestone Ag. Save instantly when you buy 2 or more eligible Firestone Ag tires during the Go Harvest Rewards promotion. Visit firestoneag.com or contact your local certified Firestone Ag dealer.
Sales of most tractors in the U.S. slumped again last month. The latest Association of Equipment Manufacturers flash report showing the sale of all tractors last month in the U.S. was down 5% from the same time a year ago. Two-wheel drive smaller tractors were down 7%, while 40 and under 100 horsepower were down 4%. Sales of two-wheel drive 100 plus horsepower were up 8%, while four-wheel drive units were actually up 21%. Combine sales last month were down 2%, but for the year they're up 32%. It's harvest time, and if you're lacking a few necessary pieces to complete this harvest, Machinery Pete has a look at the latest machinery prices.
All right, folks, it's fall, so let's talk harvest equipment and the equipment needed to get it off the field. And one thing I've noticed throughout this year, 2023, very strong auction pricing, strong buyer demand on good condition gravity wagons. And if we wind it back to the start of this year, We filmed an auction January 26th in Walnut, Illinois for our Machine Repeat TV show, sailed by Redinger Auction Service. And they had sold this very sharp 2006 Brent 744 gravity wagon, went for $19,950, all-time record high price on a Brent 744. Now if we drop down just a bit in capacity and stay with Brent, let's talk Brent 644s. Of course, I've seen a ton of those sold over the years at auction. And on March 14th of this year, on an online auction in Gladbrook, Iowa, by our friends at Big Iron, this Brent 644 went for $16,250, and that's tied for the all-time record high auction price on a Brent 644. And if we talk more recent auctions, let's go September 8th in Alton, Iowa. Very nice farm sale by our friends at Iowa Auction Group. They sold a pair of 2013 Demco 750 gravity wagons, and they went for $20,500 and $20,000. Those are the two highest auction prices I've ever seen on Demco 750 gravity wagons. And oh, by the way, that same sale, they also sold a pair of 2004 Demco 650s, and they went for $12,500 and $12,000.
All right, thanks, Pete. Well, there's a new rice grower in Arkansas. Now he's already starting to make a name for himself at the age of just 17. Next in the country.
Got equipment to sell privately but tired of scams and hassles? Visit MachineRepeat.com and click Sell Mine. MachineRepeat.com, the simple and secure way to buy and sell equipment online.
Arkansas added an unexpected rice grower this year. He's 17 years old, and the Arkansas Farm Bureau reports his first rice crop produced banner yields, not in the state's Delta region, but on land west of Little Rock.
I'm 17 years old. My family's always had a dairy farm, and we've always liked to farm a little bit on the side. In the past couple of years, I've helped another guy up the creek just a little ways with his rice crop, and I've kind of grown to like the industry. And so I suggested we try to grow rice on this place and try to get a good crop off of it. And from what little I knew, I could put a little bit of my knowledge into it, which is not that was much, but we started it and the weather worked out right and everything just went as it should. Yields are really good. We don't have an exact number yet, but I would think we're anywhere from 170 to 200 bushels to the acre for our first year, and it's a big achievement, I would say. Say there's not just a whole lot of rice west of Little Rock, but I would say the yield's fairly average for this part of the country. This is conventional rice, it's not any type of hybrid, and from what I understand, just a conventional rice yield being around the 200 bushels to the acre yield mark is pretty good. I would say it's a little above average to what we have around here. The soil is extremely heavy black dirt. You might call it Sharkey clay. It holds water extremely well, and it's all but a clay pot. You put water on it and it seals off, and if it dries out, it cracks open to about 2-inch gaps, and it gets extremely hard. We've tried to put corn on it in the past, and also soybeans. They don't like to germinate in that hard packed of soil. It's hard to dry it out as well. So rice being an extremely tough seed, it doesn't seem to phase the rice. The Cadern Creek, it surrounds half of the field itself. It's basically free water. We don't have to have a well or anything drilled. All we have to do is stick a pump out in the creek and pump water. And the water itself is extremely clean. It works really good to irrigate with. My dad has 6 brothers, and 3 of them decided to stay on the farm, and the rest of them went to other professions. The 3 that stayed on the farm, as well as me and my cousin Wade, we operate the farm to the best of our abilities, which there's not a lot of people my age, at least in Conway, that do the line of work that I do. It's really a unique job in this area. I plan on going to the University of Arkansas and study something in agriculture. After college, I figure I'll come back to the farm. It's just what I really like, is to be able to be out in the fields and mess with the dairy as well. It's hard. It takes a lot of time. You know, you don't have as much time to go around with your friends, you know, being a teenager, but I kind of like to sacrifice that just because of what I'm doing. I think it's going to pay off in the future, but it takes quite a bit of determination and patience, lots of patience.
Our thanks to the Arkansas Farm Bureau for sharing that story. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton.